For 3 years, Sarah cleaned their offices after hours. Silent, invisible, forgotten. They talked about classified deals right in front of her, assuming she couldn't understand. But when foreign agents infiltrated the building, she identified the breach in seconds, using skills they never knew she had. Welcome to Hidden Legends, where ordinary people carry extraordinary secrets. Sarah Miller arrived at Apex Financial Tower every evening at 6:30 p.m., exactly as she had for 3 years. At 47, she had perfected the art of being unremarkable, a middle-aged woman with graying hair who moved through gleaming corridors like a ghost. The 42nd floor housed executive offices of America's most powerful investment firm. This was where billion-dollar deals were made, where corporate secrets were casually discussed over expensive coffee. Sarah began her routine methodically, cleaning while employees gathered their belongings. She timed her movements perfectly, arriving as the day shift departed, ensuring minimal interaction with people who saw her as furniture. The Morrison acquisition is moving $2.3 billion through the Cayman subsidiary, Jennifer Walsh whispered to her colleague near the coffee machine. Sarah continued cleaning, movements steady and unremarkable, but her mind cataloged every detail: the subsidiary name, the amount, the timeline. 3 years of training had taught her that valuable information often came from careless conversations. As executives filed out, Sarah became truly invisible. She moved through offices with practiced efficiency, but her eyes missed nothing. She noted scattered documents, passwords on sticky notes, unsecured terminals glowing in darkness. Marcus Chen, the CFO, often worked late, pacing his corner office during overseas calls. Sarah had learned to identify the languages: Mandarin, German, Arabic, and while she pretended to organize his bookshelf, she absorbed fragments revealing far more than intended. "The Jakarta project needs acceleration," Chen had said during one call. "Our defense sector contacts are getting nervous." Sarah's hands continued dusting, but her mind sharpened. Defense sector, Jakarta. These weren't typical investment terms. They were vocabulary of something far more dangerous. Night after night, Sarah absorbed it all. She memorized client names, financial structures, operational procedures. To executives, she was furniture. To Sarah, they were creating a comprehensive intelligence picture. The irony wasn't lost on her. These brilliant Harvard and Wharton graduates had no idea their cleaning lady possessed skills that would make intelligence professionals envious. But Sarah Miller hadn't always been a cleaning lady. Once, she had been Staff Sergeant Sarah Collins, Special Forces Intelligence with top secret clearance. She had interrogated terrorists, decoded enemy communications, infiltrated organizations threatening national security. Her current job was supposed to be retirement, quiet, anonymous existence after 15 years of classified operations. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday night in October. Sarah was cleaning the conference room when she noticed something that made her military training snap to attention. The wastebasket contained paper fragments torn hastily rather than shredded properly. She retrieved the pieces with calm efficiency, pulse quickening as she reassembled them mentally. The document was client communication in Arabic, discussing operational timelines and asset positioning. This wasn't investment terminology. This was operational planning. Over following weeks, Sarah began noticing patterns. Certain clients always called after hours. Specific folders moved between offices overnight. The company's encrypted communications increased during international tension periods. Chen's late-night calls became more frequent and guarded. He would switch languages mid-conversation, speaking in code words Sarah recognized from intelligence training. "The merchandise is being relocated," he would say. These weren't financial descriptions. They were operational communications using commercial language as cover. Sarah began documenting everything using deep cover techniques. She memorized names, dates, locations. She noted which conversations were conducted in which languages, which documents handled with unusual care. The company's true nature became clearer each night. Apex Financial was a front organization using legitimate investment activities to mask something far more complex. Defense sector connections weren't coincidental. They were central to operations. Victoria Sterling's European contacts included individuals whose names Sarah recognized from intelligence briefings. They weren't business people. They were arms dealers, information brokers, facilitators of transactions existing between legal commerce and covert operations. The realization hit her while emptying trash in David Park's office. Among discarded papers was a shipping manifest for cargo from Dubai to Jakarta, routed through multiple carriers. Contents listed as industrial equipment, but specifications suggested something far more sophisticated. Sarah stood in the darkened office, feeling familiar chill of recognition. This was weapons trafficking, disguised as legitimate international commerce. The crisis began at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday in November. Sarah was organizing supplies when she heard voices in the hallway, voices that shouldn't have been there. She froze. Military training immediately activated. Building security was strict. No unauthorized personnel after 10 p.m. She listened carefully, identifying 3 distinct voices speaking in Eastern European accents. Moving with silent precision, learned in special forces, Sarah crept to the door and peered through the crack. 3 men in dark clothing examined the office directory, movements professional and coordinated. They carried small backpacks and wore gloves, equipment of people who didn't intend to leave fingerprints. One produced a sophisticated lockpick. Within seconds, they had bypassed security on Victoria Sterling's office door. These weren't random burglars. They were professionals conducting targeted operations. Moving with ghost-like stealth, Sarah positioned herself to observe. The intruders worked methodically, searching files and computer systems. They weren't randomly stealing. They were conducting targeted intelligence operations. They spoke Russian, and Sarah's language training allowed her to understand. They were looking for the Jakarta files and the Dubai contact list, precisely the materials Sarah had identified as central to Apex Financial's covert operations. The realization hit her like a physical blow. These weren't just corporate spies. They were foreign intelligence agents attempting to penetrate what they believed was an American intelligence operation. One intruder triggered a silent alarm Sarah hadn't known existed. Security lights began flashing, not the building's standard alarm, but something more sophisticated. The intruders realized their mistake, abandoning careful search and grabbing documents randomly. Sarah made a split-second decision. She stepped out and walked directly toward Sterling's office, moving with calm confidence. "Gentlemen," she said in perfect Russian, "I think you're looking for something specific." The 3 intruders spun toward her, hands moving toward concealed weapons, but Sarah's posture conveyed no threat, just calm authority of someone who understood the situation. "You're after the Jakarta files," she continued in English. "I know where they are. I also know you have 90 seconds before real security arrives." The lead intruder stared with confusion of someone whose assessment had been shattered. "Who are you?" Sarah smiled with quiet confidence. "I'm someone who's been watching you watch them for 3 months. And right now, I'm the only person who can get you what you came for without getting you killed." The Russian agents stared at Sarah with mixture of confusion and calculation. The woman they had dismissed as irrelevant was speaking fluent Russian, demonstrating knowledge of their operation. "You have 30 seconds to decide," Sarah said, glancing at her watch. "The alarm you triggered doesn't go to building security. It goes to a much more interesting group." The lead agent gestured his teammates to remain alert. "You know what we're looking for. That suggests you know what this company does." "Apex Financial is a front providing services for an international weapons network," Sarah replied. "They're facilitating arms sales to 7 conflict zones, using legitimate investment as cover." She retrieved a manila folder from her cart. Inside were photographs, documents, and organizational charts mapping Apex Financial's structure. The agents recognized this intelligence was far more comprehensive than anything they had gathered. "Staff Sergeant Sarah Collins, Special Forces Intelligence. 15 years of classified operations before I retired to something more peaceful." She gestured with dry humor. "Apparently I'm not good at retirement." The elevator chimed, indicating someone approaching. All 4 tensed. That's the real security team, Sarah said calmly. They monitor Apex Financial's actual operations. You have 2 minutes before they reach this floor. The lead agent made a rapid decision. We take the intelligence and evacuate. No, Sarah said firmly. You escape through the service elevator. I handle security. If you're detected, it compromises both missions. The agents exchanged glances, communicating silently. They were being offered intelligence exceeding expectations, but asked to trust someone whose motivations they couldn't understand. How do we contact you? The lead agent asked. You don't. I contact you if needed. Leave a coded message in Washington Post Personals. Use seeking property management opportunities. I'll respond within 48 hours. The agents moved toward the service elevator with swift precision. As they reached the hallway, the lead agent turned back. What do we call you? Cleaning lady, she replied. It's the only name that matters now. The footsteps approaching were different from ordinary security guards. Sarah's trained ear detected the measured pace of tactical professionals. The team leader appeared, a woman in her 30s with controlled alertness of someone experienced in high-stakes situations. She wore civilian clothes, but her posture marked her as former military intelligence. Ma'am, we need to ask about tonight's activities, the team leader said professionally. Sarah looked up with mild confusion. Is there a problem? I'm just finishing the executive level. We detected unusual activity. Electronic signatures suggest someone accessed secured systems. Did you notice anyone unusual? Sarah needed to appear cooperative without revealing capabilities. There were some men earlier. They seemed to be looking for something specific in areas where I hadn't seen them before. The team leader's attention sharpened. Can you describe them? 3 men, professionally dressed. They mentioned something about Jakarta and seemed interested in Mrs. Sterling's files. The team leader exchanged glances with colleagues. Sarah recognized the moment when professionals realized a situation was more serious than assessed. Ma'am, this is a national security matter. Those were foreign intelligence operatives attempting to steal classified information. Sarah widened her eyes appropriately. Foreign spies? Here? It's critical you don't discuss this. What you witnessed is classified. The team leader handed Sarah a business card, just a phone number and name, Jennifer Morrison. No agency identification, no address, a cover identity. As the security team prepared to leave, Sarah provided one additional detail. Mrs. Morrison, I heard them mention something about a Dubai contact being nervous about timelines. Morrison's expression sharpened. The Dubai connection was significant, a key element in Apex Financial's operations. Her cover as invisible cleaning lady remained intact, but she was now walking a tightrope between multiple intelligence services. 3 days later, Sarah arrived to find Apex Financial transformed into a command post. Additional security patrolled, surveillance equipment filled the building, employees required enhanced screening. Friday evening, while cleaning the conference room, Sarah discovered evidence the situation was escalating. A hastily shredded document contained fragments of communication with Desert Rose, a code name she recognized from military intelligence. Desert Rose was a high-level asset in a Middle Eastern arms trafficking network. Apex Financial communicating directly with this asset suggested the weapons network was far more extensive than realized. The next morning brought confirmation. Marcus Chen had been found dead, apparently from a heart attack, but Sarah's medical training recognized signs of sophisticated poisoning. Chen had been eliminated. That evening, Sarah activated an encrypted device and sent a message to an emergency contact. Cleanup required. Multiple agencies involved. Request extraction. Response came within an hour. Maintain position. Support incoming. Designate housekeeper. Monday brought escalation. Russian agents conducted surveillance from across the street, signaling to American intelligence they considered the situation unresolved. That afternoon, Jennifer Morrison appeared with federal agents, interviewing every employee. Sarah played her role perfectly, worried cleaning lady wanting to help. That evening, Victoria Sterling approached after hours. Mrs. Miller, I think we need to talk. Sarah set down supplies and spoke in calm, professional tone. Mrs. Sterling, This situation has moved beyond corporate security concerns. Sterling's eyes widened at the transformation. The nervous cleaning lady had vanished, replaced by someone radiating trained confidence. The question is whether you treat me as asset or threat. I can be extremely valuable as one and extremely dangerous as the other. Over the next hour, Sarah extracted comprehensive intelligence mapping the entire weapons network. Most importantly, she learned the network was expanding into chemical weapons components, materials for weapons of mass destruction. The chemical shipment goes out next week, Sterling said. Once those materials reach destination, we can't stop what happens next. Sarah felt familiar chill. Chemical weapons in terrorist hands represented threats beyond regional conflicts. Mrs. Sterling, I need you to help stop that shipment, not delay. Stop completely. Sterling looked at her with exhausted resignation. Yes, but once we act, we'll both be marked for elimination. Sarah smiled with grim satisfaction. Normal life is overrated. Saving lives matters. As they shook hands, Sarah realized she had formed an unlikely partnership with someone who had been her unknowing adversary. The cleaning lady and executive were about to take on an international weapons network with government resources and criminal ruthlessness. But for the first time in 3 years, Sarah Miller felt truly alive. 6 months later, headlines told part of the story. Arms network disrupted, chemical weapons seized, terrorist plot foiled. What they didn't mention was the cleaning lady who spent 3 years gathering intelligence while emptying trash. They didn't mention the executive who chose redemption. Sarah Miller had disappeared as completely as she appeared, leaving only the legend of a woman who saved countless lives while pretending to be invisible. Because sometimes, the greatest legends begin with the simplest disguise. This story was brought to you by Hidden Legends. If you know someone who continues their service in unexpected ways, a veteran working as a teacher, a former intelligence officer running a small business, or someone whose quiet dedication makes a difference, share their story in the comments. And subscribe to honor those who never stop protecting others, whether in uniform or cleaning uniforms.